There is, I think, a common theme, and I think it comes down to fear. It's the uncertainty. You know, you pick up the phone and you're calling somebody, maybe they're on your list, and you really don't know who they are. And so there's this sense of uncertainty, and with that uncertainty comes pain, and it's perceived pain. Because I know people that they love to get on the phone. They love to talk in front of people. They love to prospect. They love to reach out. They love to meet people. And there are other people, they're just simply afraid of it. They're afraid of it, but really it has to do with their thinking. And this real seminar is really not about technique, but it's really about how do we change our mind around picking up the phone, procrastination, knowing what to say. But in a nutshell, I think it has to do with pain. It's perceived pain. And if we perceive that the phone is heavy, or we perceive that picking up the phone is going to be painful, will we do it? Most likely we won't do it. We'll find other things to do, right? How many of you would rather clean your desk? You know, okay, all right. So, yeah, you'd rather do that than pick up the phone because in your mind, you associate pain with that. So if you can change your mind and you can see it as a pleasurable experience, how many of you think you would do it more often, right? You would. So this really is about getting the pain and acknowledging the pain first and recognizing it for what it is. So I need a scribe. Does anybody like to write? Because I just need a volunteer to help me here, just to scribe. Anybody want to do that? Going once? We got any volunteers? You want to help? Okay, please. What's your name? Becky. Okay. Give a hand for Becky. All you're going to do is write inside the box what they say. So, and if the spelling's wrong, don't worry, just add a vowel or a consonant. Okay, so raise your hand if you can acknowledge or can identify the pain that is associated with picking up the phone. Rejection, okay. Who said that? Rejection. How many of you can relate to that rejection is a painful experience? Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir, Paul.
Just a lack of trust. You know, who is this person calling me?
Okay, so they feel a lack of trust in you. Yeah, okay, right? So rejection, lack of trust. Let's get all this stuff out on the table on the board. Yes?
Getting tongue-tied?
Getting tongue-tied. So, you know, do you say the right words? Do you know what to say? Things like that, getting tongue-tied. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Awkward silence.
Awkward silence, yep. And can I ask you, you don't have to tell everything, but what exactly happened when you were 16? Do you want to say? Do you want to share? It would probably be helpful, but if you don't want to go there,
The first job I ever had was doing direct sales calls
Okay.
for a home improvement company.
Oh, good.
And I worked for them for 6 weeks and never got a single bite
Okay.
at the time.
Okay.
And got hung up on a lot.
Yep.
And it was just, for a 16-year-old, that was terribly traumatic.
Yep. How many of you work at colleges or use call centers and use your students? I do that at Concordia College, New York. Yeah, you really have to let them know that the rejection or the hang-ups are not personal, and I think you have to understand that that's true too and communicate that. I mean, this happened, she was 16 years old, and it's still in your mind. So, and it probably is a barrier for you to pick up the phone. So, yeah, sure. Anything else? Let's get it all on the board. Yes, sir.
Frustration of not being able to get to the person you want to talk to.
Like the gatekeeper getting past that person? Okay. Okay. So frustration, not getting to the right person. The more authentic we can be about this and more real we can be about this, the more the transformation will be. Yes, sir.
No means having to do it all over again.
What do you mean no has to do with doing it all over again? What do you mean?
If I get rejected on this call, I've got to make another call to get the yes.
Okay. Sure. Right. Okay. So getting past the no's, it's a burden. Yes.
Coming across as either a telemarketer or a used car salesman or something like that, just kind of feeling sleazy.
Right. How many of you, yeah, no, that's fine. Feeling sleazy, sales. How many of you love to sell? So we got 1, 2, 3, a few people, right? It's the minority. I don't think this is a sales business. I work at a college up in New York, Concordia, and the people that I work with are donors. I work in church relations and donor relations. Is that the person on the other end of the phone or the person at the event, they're excited about Concordia College. and they're already engaged. I don't think I have to close them. I don't think I have to sell them. I don't think I have to manipulate them. I think a lot of times when we associate the phone with making a connection, we think of sales. And we think of sleazy sales. So, and we don't want to feel like a telemarketer. We don't want to feel like somebody that's manipulating somebody else. Good. I saw another hand over here, I think. Yes, yes.
Fear of uncovering a complaint that you don't know how to respond to.
Right. Fear of uncovering a complaint that you don't know how to respond to. Yeah, you call somebody up, you make a connection, and they start complaining to you. So if you have that feeling, are you going to pick up the phone? Probably not. Right? Other hands. Yes, sir.
Getting someone's voicemail.
Voicemail. Yeah, it's frustrating. Voicemail. Yes.
Getting a lack of appreciation on the other side of the phone.
Right. No appreciation. We're really talking about pain here. We're talking about rejection. Anything else? Yes?
If you've got a prospect that looks really good,
Yep.
maybe on your screen or on paper,
Yep.
but then the call means that you find out if they're really interested in you or if it's going to go in.
And again, we associate what with that? Pain, right? We get on the phone, we call somebody, we find out they're not interested, and we feel rejected, we feel hurt. It's like you're in high school, you ask somebody out, they say no, we take it all personal. Is it really true? I don't think it is. Yes, sir?
Feel that what I say is inadequate.
It's not?
I failed.
You failed, okay, yep. Failure. Did you have one?
Getting yelled at.
Getting yelled at. Did somebody yell at you on the phone?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I've never had that experience. Have you? Anybody else had the experience of someone yelling at you? Okay.
Well, they just made a gift, and I was calling them that. Just a bit, it was to thank them.
To thank them. Simply to thank them. And what did they say to you?
I just got a phone call and I just made a gift and I've been called 3 times this week and why are you calling me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. When can I follow up? Yeah. What other feelings that you associate? Yes, sir.
Am I calling at the right time? I overanalyze that.
Yeah. How do you know? I mean, you can't be a Kreskin. You can't know for sure if they're washing the dishes or changing the baby or doing, you don't know. Yes, sir.
What about the awkwardness of the question, are you coming to ask me for money?
Oh, okay. Yeah. And it's interesting how you would respond to that, Are you asking me for money? So not being able to respond correctly. Which again is painful, right? What other things? Let's dig deeper here. Anything else? Say what you wouldn't normally say. Is that it? Yes.
Sometimes guilt if you haven't been able to follow up as you wanted to because you were distracted or you had other duties that you had to perform, and then you kind of feel bad, and then it's like, what do I say now? It's been
Right.
longer than it should have been. And
Exactly. Right. These are all emotional conditions, don't you think? I mean, if you look at this, you've got timing, rejection, lack of trust, tongue-tied, awkward silence, frustration, feeling sleazy like this is sales, prospects are not good, fear of complaints, voicemail, guilt. So a lot of this, all of this, has nothing to do with technique. It has to do with our emotions and how we feel and really how we associate with the phone or how we associate with the process. So I'd like you to experience this because we can talk about this. We can, think about this. We can analyze this. But I want you to do me a favor. I want you to experience this. Now, this can be a little bit painful, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. What I like you to do is just put everything away, like your pens, your notebooks, don't take notes for the next couple minutes here. And I want you to go to the place where you work, whether you work from home or whether you work at an office. I want you to sit like you normally sit if you were sitting at your desk. And I'd like you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine that you're in your office. Maybe it's your home office, or maybe it's your office at work. And I really encourage you to do this because we're going to go from pain to pleasure. We're going to change your associations. And the only way to get at your associations is to get at your emotions. Because if I just talk to you with your intellect, it's probably not going to be well worth your time. It's really worth your time to feel the pain and realize that the pain isn't true and to disassociate from the pain. So Imagine the things that we wrote on the board. You know, a feeling of rejection, a feeling that the phone is too heavy, a feeling that you don't know what to say. And what I like you to do is just take a deep breath through your nose and then just exhale and just relax. And I want you to associate the pain of the procrastination. You're in your office, you know you should be making these phone calls, but you don't want to make these phone calls. And you don't want to make these phone calls because you're really afraid. You're afraid of what the people on the other end are going to say to you. They may yell at you. They may scream at you. They may complain to you. They may say no to you. They may reject you. And so when you look at this phone, you don't want anything to do with this phone, simply because of the hurt that associates with this phone, or the hurt that you associate with this phone. You really don't know what to say. You're really uncertain of the circumstances because you can't control the circumstances. You're going to pick up the phone, you don't want to pick up the phone, you don't know what to say, and you're afraid. You're literally afraid. Now take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and I want you to feel the fear. I want you to feel the pain. I want you to feel the uncertainty. Now, if you're just doing this intellectually with your eyes open, it's probably not going to work. But if you go to that place in your body, maybe it's your chest, maybe it's the back of your neck, the feelings associated with the procrastination, that's what you want to get to. And I want you to see this as something that is very close to you. The phone is heavy. The phone weighs a lot. The phone is huge. You can see it there to the left or to the right or in front of you. You don't want to pick up the phone simply because you're afraid of the rejection. You're afraid of the pain. You'd rather do something else than pick up that phone because of a past experience you had with a donor who screamed at you, or an experience you had when you were 16 years old, or just the feeling of being rejected by another person, and you don't want to be embarrassed again. You rather do something else than to pick up that heavy phone and to be rejected by someone that simply doesn't care about you and doesn't care about your organization. Now take a deep breath through your nose and exhale. And as you do, feel the heaviness and feel the pain associated with picking up the phone and making those phone calls. You're saying to yourself right now, I'd rather do anything else. I'd rather walk out of this room right now. I'd rather not pick up the phone. I'd rather not accomplish my call list, simply because of the pain that is associated with making these calls. Really, it is the great uncertainty. What if they reject me? What if they tell me no? Now, how does that feel? Open your eyes. How does that feel, Paul?
It feels like a wall. It's like
A wall.
from a chest.
Yeah, okay.
It's like there.
It's just there. Thank you for being honest.
Steel.
Yeah, steel wall. Exactly. Anybody else want to share? You could hardly, what's your name? Leanne. I could hardly breathe. Okay.
A little nauseous.
Little nauseous, yes. A little nauseous. Okay. Anybody else? What's that? Heaviness, yeah. Okay. What's that?
Anxious.
Anxious. How many of you feel anxious or a little depressed or heaviness? Okay. Tight, yeah. Closed in. So you actually went there, but it's really not true. Now what I'd like you to do is stand up, okay, with your belongings. And if you sat in the front, I want you to sit in the back. If you sat in the left, I want you to sit on the right. If you sat on the right, I want you to sit on the left. Change your location and your mindset. Change your perspective.
nice job. In case I missed you, Ron Drews, LSS New York.
Oh,
Greg,
great.
you're doing a nice job.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We might engage you.
Okay. Love to be
Are you
engaged.
open to that?
Always open to possibilities.
Good. All right. For board training,
Excellent.
calls, campaigns.
Sure. My pleasure.
You know, outside.
How do you feel now? How do you feel now? Different? A little different, right? Because you got up and you moved, you talked to some friends, you're sitting in the front, you moved to the back, left, you turned to right. So you changed your physical location. I believe it's also possible to change your mindset. And it doesn't have to take a week, a month, a year. You can do it in a heartbeat. You can do it in an instant. When you realize that your associations about picking up that phone are not true, they're actually a lie, you can get past them. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The box that I drew and we put all the pain in it represents this square. Now, what is the difference between this and this? It's just a change of perception. That's all it is. It's the same box, right? It's the same box. We just changed it. That's what we just did just now. There was a man by the name of Saul. True story. And after Jesus' crucifixion, it was 36 months before he changed his beliefs. 3 years. Most scholars believe that it was 3 years before the Lord appeared to Saul on the road to Damascus. So what was happening? What was Saul's beliefs about the Christians? Number one, he thought that they were outlaws. Number two, he also believed that he should persecute them. Number three, he also believed that he was doing what? God's will. Right, he really did. I really believe that he was really sincere. I don't think he was a bad guy when he was standing next to Stephen as Stephen was getting stoned. He was there as Saul. It took him 3 years, and it wasn't something that he did. There was an intervention. God intervened on the road to Damascus and said, Paul, why are you persecuting me? For 3 years, he was persecuting the church, breathing, threatening assaults against the church of God. So what happened? Paul went from this mindset to this mindset. So it represents this diamond that I drew on this board here. It's a change of mindset. Now, what did Paul do after that? Who's a theologian or a pastor or teacher that knows exactly what Paul did? He start preaching right away? No. He went into the wilderness for how many years? 3.5, 3 years. Amazing. Can you imagine that? It's not like he was out in the wilderness or he was driving a truck and then all of a sudden he got a call and he decided to be a pastor. It didn't happen that way. 3 years out in the wilderness. What do you think he was doing out there? Thinking, praying, meditating, looking at his beliefs. And then what did he do after that? Anybody know? He went up to Jerusalem to talk to Peter and the rest of the disciples. What do you think they were doing? Probably sharing notes, saying, is this true? Is this what this is all about? Sharing notes. Because it was radical, because Saul was going one way, and then all of a sudden he got turned around and he was going another way. Now, I'm not suggesting it's going to take 6 years for you to change your mind about picking up the phone. I believe it can happen in an instant. As Beth was sharing, she went back and things totally changed for her. It wasn't anything that I did. I simply assisted her and she just simply changed her mind. And I see how happy she is in the process. So this is about us, you and me, changing our mind around our beliefs about what we associate pain and pleasure with. And understanding that a lot of our procrastination and our fear is because we are simply uncertain. There's no way we can know what's going to happen on the other end. So because of that uncertainty, we move away from it and we associate pain with it. So to have this conversion, we must look at one thing, and that is our beliefs. Now, if you're taking notes, write down belief, because this is powerful. The beliefs that you have about prospecting, about picking up the phone, about talking to people, about money. How many of you have issues around money? Yeah, because we were told when we were children, money doesn't grow on trees. My father said to me, you think I'm made of Exactly. You probably had the same, kind of parents. My father grew up in the Depression era, so, he didn't have that much money. So he communicated this concept of, scarcity and lack. There's not a lot of money. So if you have issues with money or issues with people or issues with the phone, most likely you're not going to be successful picking up the phone and making that connection. So the first thing to do is to examine your beliefs. Now, how do you do that? You look at your actions. If you look at your actions of what you're doing or what you're not doing, it leaves a clue of what you believe. Action always follows belief. Take the example of Saul. Saul was a man of God doing the right thing. Then his beliefs were changed first, and then he did something different. So the key here is your beliefs. Let me give you an example. Considering everything that's going on right now in the Middle East, and most of you know what's going on, you watch the news, how many of you really would feel comfortable going to Israel next week? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. How many of you would not feel comfortable going to Israel next week? Just raise your hand. Probably the majority, some of you. How many of you wouldn't raise your hand no matter what I asked? There's a few of you here. Yeah, there's a few of you here, so you don't want to participate. That's okay. All right, let me tell you this. I set you up because last week I was in Israel for like 10, 12 days with 24 pilgrims. Felt as safe as possible. I led you to believe, I prefaced it by saying, knowing that what's going on in the Middle East, I basically set you up. I was playing around with your beliefs. How many of you would feel comfortable? So there you basically said, no, I don't feel comfortable. Many of you probably would never get on a plane and go to Israel. But I have a friend that's been there 35 times. In fact, he just came back when I went. I have another friend that's been there 65 times. I've been there 3 times, and I plan to go next year. It all has to do with your beliefs. If you believe it's not safe to get on a plane and go to Israel, you probably won't do it. If you believe that the phone is too heavy or weighs too much or you're going to get rejected or there's pain associated with it, you're simply not going to do it. What's the difference between someone that picks up the phone and has great results and a person that gets on a plane and flies to Israel, a person that stays home, a person that doesn't prospect? It all has to do with beliefs. It's how you think about the process. It is your belief system. So how do you change your beliefs? Anybody know?
Change denominations.
Change denominations, yeah. Go from Protestant to Catholic, or Catholic to Protestant. How do you do it? What's that? Experience. I almost think you're part of the show, because that's the next thing. Experience. Yes, experience. Who you are, or who you be, who you are ontologically, and that's a big word, but who you are is based on who you think you are or be. Belief, experience, okay? So all of your past experience about money, about telemarketing, about salespeople, right? All of that stuff, that's your experience. And your experience is something that you bank on, and it gives you a sense of certainty. I know that this is true based on my beliefs and based on my experience. The experience is a self-fulfilling prophecy. I know this to be true because this happened to me. Do you see how that can box you in? Do you see how that can constrain you so that you don't pick up the phone and make phone calls? So who you be is your past experience, but it can hold you back. Now you can get a great amount of certainty with this. You can know that you know you're right, but at the same time you won't pick up the phone because you're afraid, because this is your past. The experience is your past. And your belief is based on your experience, which basically holds you in the fear. So you have to break out of that. One great way to do that is to model somebody, is to find someone that's great on the phone, find someone that is not afraid to picking up the phone and making contact. Now, why is that important? Simply because if you're dealing with someone that's getting results, they have different beliefs and they have a different experience. They have broken through. Maybe they don't have the same fears as you have had, but they have different beliefs and they have a different experience. I started 1994 in sales. And I was afraid. And my thought and my mantra was, I'm not a salesman. I don't know how to sell. That was my belief. And I remember, like yesterday, the first phone call that I ever made. And I picked up the phone and I was shaking in my boots. I was hyperventilating. I did not know what to say. This was 1994, 1995. But I found somebody who had a different belief and had a different experience than I had. And what I simply did is I modeled this person. I listened to him. I listened to his beliefs. It wasn't necessarily the technique, but it was who he was. And by doing that, I changed my experience and I changed my beliefs. So modeling a person. How many of you have someone, a colleague, someone you work with in your office that's really good at this? Anybody? I would say work with them or listen to them. It's one of the best ways to break through this hindrance. Now, most people get stuck right here, and that's where most of us are. We have a belief, I'm afraid, I don't want to do this, I don't like the rejection, I've had the rejection before, and I'm certainly not going to do it. And we look at these how-to manuals, and these how-to manuals really don't help us. I have a friend of mine who just passed away about a year ago. He wrote a book, If How-To Were Enough, or How-To was enough, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. And what he was saying by that is that telling a person what to do, like if this was a technique and I was saying, okay, now I want you to pick up the phone, I want you to say these words, I want you to do this is the way you close, this is the way you get in the appointment. If this was all about technique and your beliefs weren't there and your experience weren't there, you would be stuck and you would never do it. How-tos are never enough because if the belief isn't there, you're never going to follow through. It's the same way with a diet. It's the same way with exercise. It's the same way with banking and our accounting and our money. If we don't have the mindset, then we're not going to follow through and have the breakthrough. The breakthrough happens, I believe, right here. And that's taking action. So if you're writing this down, the first step you want to realize is examine your beliefs, examine your experience, get with someone that has a different experience than you, and realize that if you want to have a breakthrough, and I do believe you're here because you do, you have to get in the game and focus on action, okay? I need another volunteer. This time, okay, come on up, sir.
This is my penance for being late.
Oh, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Hey,
Sheffield.
Matt, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Give him a round of applause. What do you do, Matt?
I am a development professional for Mosaic. We serve people with intellectual disabilities. I work in major and planned gifts.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. What I suggest is that you make this a game, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. When I pick up the phone now and I call donors or I reach out to folks, I look at it differently, and I think this is the key. What if you could look at prospecting like a game? Would it be fun? Sure it would, right? I mean, games are fun. We just had the Super Bowl. People play baseball. It's all fun and games. So we're going to make this a game. And what I like you to take away from this is when you go back to your office on Monday, make prospecting or reaching out to your donors a game. If you just simply change the way you look at it, remember that? And you just change the way you perceive it and make it a game, it can be really fun. Are you up to playing a game?
Absolutely.
Excellent, okay. I didn't bring a pack of cards, and I don't want to appear that this is a trick. It's not a trick, but what I'd like you to do is just pick a card, any card, all right? Don't show me. Show everybody here. Show everybody here. Okay, good. Now, it's important. We didn't talk before. We didn't set anything up. What I'd like you to do is write down the card on that piece of paper, because I don't want you to forget. All of you will keep them accountable, I'm sure. Okay, don't show me. Okay, all right, good. I'll take the pad, you keep the one piece. Okay, all right. So make believe I'm calling you up, okay? So I'm calling him up on the phone. He's a prospect. I work for Concordia College. It could be anything. Maybe I know him because he's come to events. Maybe I have no idea. He's just like a name on a list, right? So I call him up, ring, ring, ring. He says hello. I'm just going to ask him a question. That's all I'm going to do. Matt, I'm just going to ask you a question. Is it the two of hearts?
No.
You hear what he said? No. He said no. Now, how should I feel? This ain't a magic trick. I can't read his mind. I mean, we didn't set this up. I'm not going to amaze you. I just said, Matt, is this the two of hearts? He says, no. How should I feel? All right, I call up, why? If I call up a donor and I say, I want to thank you, or I'd love to have you come to the next event, or I want to meet with you, and that person says, so what? I mean, really, so what? If you see this as a game, it can change everything. The memories of what happened to you when you were 16, the memory of what happened to you when someone said no to you last week, the memory of the rejection can go out the window if you play this like a game. Is it the three of clubs, Matt?
I'm sorry, Greg, it is not.
Okay. Okay. You're laughing, right? But how many of you get so upset when someone says no to you? You know, is it my issue? Is it his issue? Maybe it's neither of our issues, you know? I mean, a lot of times when you're calling other folks, there is an issue there, you know? You have issues, I have issues, we all have issues. Queen of Diamonds.
I'm sorry, but at this time, it is not.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let me ask you this. I know you're laughing, but is it possible that you could go back to your job, your work, your calling on Monday, and you could look at your list, and you could look at the names and the telephone numbers, and you could pick up the phone with a smile, because it's always important to smile when you dial to smile, and when you pick up the phone, whatever the question you're looking for, whether it's the donation there or whether it's the appointment, whatever it is, that you simply ask a question, you know, an invitation to lunch or dinner or whatever you do, and the person says yes or no, is it the four of clubs?
My wife and I have given it great consideration, and at this time we prefer other cards.
I'm beginning to think you're a card. Okay. Okay. Now, how can I speed this up? Here's how you can speed this up. If this is a cold call, how many of you do cold calls? You're calling people you don't know or they're just on the list. I have some people like that. Now, if it's a warm call, and we've known each other from Alde, and I know him, part of the organization, he's been to a few events. I just hosted Matthew Harrison at the Concordia College in November. There were a lot of people there that I knew. You know, I didn't feel like I had to sell anybody anything because they were there because they wanted to be there. So here's how you can narrow it down, okay? If you know someone that is really active in your organization, like they show up at events, they have given in the past, maybe they've given $25 here or $25 there, the relationship is a little warm. You can ask a question that can narrow this down, and I'll show you what I mean. Matt, is the card a face card, meaning like an ace or a queen, a jack, you know, one of those face cards?
Yes!
Okay. So see, now, I had a choice of asking him whether they were face cards or whether they were, you know, 2s, 3s, 4s. So I'm not going to ask any questions about 2 of diamonds or 3s or 4, right? Because now I know, because he's kind of like in the circle of my influence. He's warm because he's been to events before. You know, I do trips all over the world. I've been to Israel, I've been to Athens, I've been to Greece. I travel with folks, I get to know the alumni. So this is a relationship. Now I know it's probably an ace, a queen, a king, one of those things, right? So he's now saying yes to me. And see, that's how you get into the relationship. Now, of course, if he just says no and wants to get off the phone, you just go to the next one because it's simply just a game. There's no way you're going to get every time a person telling you yes. And there's no way in the million years you're going to be able to be completely certain about what happens. Even telemarketers are not certain. Even baseball players don't hit the ball 100 times, right? They're lucky if they hit it like 3 out of 10 or something. I mean, so, all right, so let me ask you this. Is it a black card or a red card? In other words, is it clubs or spades?
It's a black card.
It's a black card. See, so now I know it's either clubs or spades. It's spades.
Correct.
So it's spades, okay? Is it the jack of spades?
No.
Is it the queen of spades?
No.
Is it the king of spades?
No.
Is it the ace of spades?
The most beautiful card in the deck, the ace of spades.
Ace of spades, okay?
Not by my drawing, but
excellent,
usually.
right? Thank you. Give him a hand. This is just simply called safety in numbers, the law of averages. Safety in numbers, the law of averages. What that means is if you go to your office tomorrow or next week and you only make one phone call in a day, you're not playing the game. I used to coach people who had home businesses, and what I used to do is I used to say to them, John, I don't want to hear a story. Mary, I don't want to hear a story. I want you to draw a box on a piece of paper, and I want you to write inside that box how many people you talked to today about your home business. I did this for 5 years. Most people would tell me 1 or 0. If you want to be successful in building your prospect list and making connections with folks, you want to play the numbers. Safety in numbers, the law of averages. What that simply means is, Ron is going to be more successful making 10 prospecting calls or donor calls a day than if you, sir, Ed, turn around and only made 1 call a week. He's going to be more successful, even if his skills are not as good as Ed's. So you want to look at this simply as a game. How many of you can see that if you changed your mind around this, that you would be more successful? Raise your hand. Right, because you can't control how the other person thinks, you can't control how the other person feels, but the one thing that you can control is how you think and how you feel. I don't take it personally when I said 2 of hearts, because I don't know. And I'm not a mind reader. I don't know Kreskin. I don't know how to do magic tricks. It's not going to work. But if I call, let me show you what I mean. We're in February, right? Ron, do you have a birthday in February?
No.
Okay. Ed, do you have a birthday in February?
I do not.
Do you have a birthday in February? Do you have a birthday in February?
Yes.
Okay. What's your name?
Eric.
Eric. Eric has a birthday in February. Now, I didn't ask Eric ahead of time, but I know there's like, I don't know, 30, 50 people in this room. My odds are, safety in numbers, the law of averages, there's going to be somebody that has a birthday in February. If you call enough people and don't take it personally and don't associate any pain with any of this because it's all in your head, and if you treat it like a game, just like that card thing, you will be successful. Beth has had success with this, which I'm very thankful for, simply because she took action, which is the key. You have to take action. Now, you can hear this information, you can judge this information, you can take notes on this information, but what's important is you take action. You must take action. Because if you just think about it, if you just look at your past and you don't get into action, what I mean by getting into action is you must get up, walk over to the phone, pick it up, and do the phone calls. And realize that you have to break through the feeling of uncertainty. And in some cases, you're going to look a little foolish because you're going to break out. I wish I had a $100 bill, but I didn't think about this ahead of time, but maybe next time I'll do it with a $100 bill. You got a $100 bill? Okay, here I have money. All right, who wants money? Who wants money? Anybody? Good, excellent, so we got a lot of hands. Great, excellent. Ed says right up front, he'll take it. Who wants this dollar bill? Okay, great, got a lot of hands. Who wants, maybe if I had a $100 bill, it would be a different conversation. It'll buy you a banana downstairs. Ah! What's your name?
Connie.
Connie, thank you, Connie. No, that's yours. See, isn't it interesting?
Let us know when you do the one with the $100.
Yes, yeah. Isn't it interesting, the reaction? Did you watch that?
We're
No, Connie, great. Let's give her a applause. But the reaction was to take the money and then what to do with it? To give it back, which is, I've done this with a $100 bill. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you're only talking currency. It's just pieces of paper. But realize this, that your beliefs came out in her action. Did you see that? Connie, did you notice that? Did you see a connection between this and this with the money? Well, she took the dollar and then she gave it back to me. So what was she saying by that action? I don't know, because I can't read your mind. What were you saying? Do you know? It belongs to me. But no, it belongs to you. If you have an issue with money, how many of you have an issue asking someone for $1 million? Because you don't feel comfortable if someone asked you for $1 million. This all has to do with belief systems. So as you examine your actions, these actions will reveal your belief. And sometimes these beliefs are so deep-seated that they're unconscious. You're not aware of them. And the only way to really get to the heart of your beliefs is to look at your actions. Are you making the prospect calls? Are you getting appointments? Are you getting yeses? Are you being successful? If you're not taking action, you need to change your mind. Okay. There are 4 ways to change your beliefs. There's 4 levels, okay? And the first level is what we call unconscious incompetent. Unconscious incompetent. Unconscious incompetent. Now, what does this mean? Unconscious incompetent means someone who is totally incompetent. They don't know what they're doing, but the beauty about it is they don't know that they don't know, okay? It's like being asleep. It's kind of a good place to be. You're incompetent, but you don't know it. That's the first step. Now, the second step, number 2, is when you wake up. And that's where you become conscious incompetent. That's when you realize that you don't know what to do, you don't know how to pick up the phone, you don't know what to say, and you associate a lot of pain with this stage. So you go from unconscious incompetent to conscious incompetent. In other words, that's when you wake up, okay? If you associate pain with that, what are you going to do? You're going to say, not going to do it, all right? Let me see, I need to pick on somebody. Can I pick on you? She smiled. Can I pick on you? Come on up. I want to show you what this looks like. So she's unconscious because she doesn't know what I'm going to ask her to do, all right? But she's a leader because she got up. What's your name?
Fran.
Fran. Give her a hand. I'm going to stand over here so the mic doesn't. Okay. What I'd like you to do is do this for me. What did you say?
Uh-oh.
Oh, see what you, okay. So she's going from unconscious incompetent to conscious incompetent. She realizes right now, look at her body language, look how she's feeling, look at her beliefs. You can't look at the beliefs, but you can look at the action. Fran, can you do this? Can you throw up a ball and catch it?
Sometimes.
Okay. So she can do it. Can you do this? Which is 2 at the same time, Fran.
We'll see.
Okay. I have confidence in you. Okay. Okay. So this is where she goes from unconscious incompetent, okay, which is the first step, and now she realizes that she can't do this. Fran, can you do this? You don't think so. But do you know you can't do it?
No, I don't know.
Okay, she doesn't know it. Okay, well, let's see. Here, you ready? Catch that one. Catch this one. Okay? And what I'd like you to do is just basically do what I just did.
Can you do it again?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll show. She's modeling me. Did you? Very good, Fran. Very good. All right. What you do? That's exactly. She's listening. You take 2 here. This one goes over to that hand. This one goes over to this hand. That one goes over to that, and you just repeat it until it drives you crazy. Okay. So again, you just throw this one to that one. This one. This one. It goes like that. Okay. Here you go. Whoops. Okay. Try it again. All right. That one goes over to that one. This one goes over to that one.
I can't.
Just try it. Okay. No, that's fine. Now, this is where most people say, I can't do this, I'm not going to do this. It's based on their beliefs, and it's based on their past experience. Remember this? Because you've never juggled before, right? See, I juggled, before I started, like, sitting over a table or a bed, and I just did this, for a couple hours. And then once I did that, I realized I could do this. And it took some time. It was a process. Can you do 2 balls in the air at the same time?
Well, I did that before.
Okay.
Okay, you want me to do this?
There you go. Okay. So she's making progress. Now, now this is a trick question. Is it possible for you to keep all 3 balls, tennis balls, up in the air at the same time? Just think about what I said.
Yeah.
Just do it. There you go. Give her a hand. So this is why people stop. Because what happens is they're locked into their beliefs. I can't do this. I feel afraid. Some past experience happened to me. They realize that they are not competent. Okay? They wake up to the fact that they can't juggle, or they wake up to the fact that they can't pick up the phone and make the phone call. They're afraid about what to say. But here's the beauty. This is where the pain is. Remember we drew the box and we put all those painful things in there? That's where people are when they're stuck. They are stuck at the level of conscious incompetent. In other words, they know that they are incompetent and they're aware of it. And what basically happens is people say, well, that's just the way it is. This is my identity. See, that's a terrible thing to say. If you say, well, this is my identity, I can't change this, this is just who I am, I'm not a telemarketer, I'm not a salesperson, I'm not a developer, then you're locked into this, and it really can hold you back. The next step is what's called conscious competent. Conscious competent. This is where you begin to become competent, but you have to think about it every single second. Like if you're picking up the phone and making a phone call or doing prospecting or reaching out to donors, you're conscious and you become conscious and competent, but you have to think about it. It would be like going, all right, now I got to do this. Okay, hold on, let me try it again. Okay. All right, now, I did it once. And you're constantly thinking about what you're doing. It's the same thing with picking up the phone. At first, it's going to feel a little awkward. There's going to be thoughts of procrastination and fear and all that stuff. You have to step past it. Model somebody. If you know somebody that's really good at it, get close to them and say, okay, how do I do it? Just like Fran did. She said, how did you do it? And then you get to the point where you can do great things. But sometimes you mess up, right? Now, the last phase is really sweet. It's the sweet spot. It is what is called unconscious competent. Unconscious competent. That is where you pick up the phone, you see it as a pleasure, and you connect with people in such a way that your colleagues say, man, you have a gift. And you're like, yeah, well, you don't know how long it took me to get to this gift, okay? You can change your mind, and you can go through the process of these 4 steps. Again, the 4 steps: unconscious incompetent, conscious incompetent, that's where the pain happens. Then you go to the 3rd step, conscious competent, and then if you break through, and I know you can, I know Beth did, I did, and other people I know have done it. When you break through and you go through the process, you become an expert at this, and you feel at ease doing it. I remember the first time I got a stick shift. I graduated from the seminary in '92, and the first car I got was a Honda Accord. And I had to think about shifting the gear and putting the foot down and the brake and the clutch and all that kind of stuff, right? I bought it because it was a cheap car, because the automatic was more money, and I was broke back then. So as I shifted, I had to constantly think about what I was doing. That's what's going to happen to you when you're on the phone. But eventually now, I can drive the car and shift and not even think about it. It's because it's unconscious and I'm competent. You will get there if you don't sabotage right here. That's the key. You've got to get past the pain and get to the 3rd step, and then also get to the 4th step. Okay? I'm going to leave questions for the end, and I'm looking at my time. The next step is to learn how to listen and not to prejudge. Learn how to listen and not prejudge. In other words, you want to make a connection. You want to connect with another person, whether they're a donor or whether they're interested in coming on a trip or interested in being at an event. The key here is to make a connection, okay? Most people like people who are just like themselves. We're all created differently. It's like snowflakes. We're all different. But most people want to connect with people who are very similar. So you may have heard this before in different analogies, but the way I remember it is 4 colors: green, red, yellow, and blue. And I'll tell a little stories about this so that it sinks in, because stories have a way of doing that. Green tends to be people who are very analytical. Now, my father-in-law is a green. He's very analytical. He's an engineer. here's the characteristic of a green person. And you know, you could use animals, you could use colors, there's different types, you know, INTPs and all that. But this is a simple way of remembering this. 4 colors, green. They tend to be analytical. They tend to want to be right. I had a gentleman that came to my church when I was a pastor in Connecticut. He was a typical green, typical green. He had a family, a wife, and 5 kids. He came to church. And I made the mistake one day of saying the deadly words, "I think you are wrong." And it was the last time I saw him. Analytical people want to be right. They pride themselves on having the knowledge and the information. If you're here today and you're green, you're probably taking great notes. You're going to go back and study this. You're going to look at this, analyze it. And there's nothing wrong with this. It's just that people who are greens tend to look for their certainty in their knowledge, and they want to be right about things, okay? So when you're talking to somebody that's very analytical and they ask you a question like, "Oh, how was the campaign this year? How much did you make?" And you say, "Oh, I don't know." Or you say, "Oh, I think it was $1.5 million, but it really was $1.2 million," they're going to be really upset at you because they are very much detailed oriented. They're really much into the details, the facts, you know. They tend to want to be precise. These are engineers, these are accountants, these are people who really pride themselves on having all the data and all the information. So when you're talking to somebody like this, realize you can't see their body language, but you can listen to their voice. Most likely they're not going to talk as fast as I talk. They're going to talk a little slower. They're going to ask about details. They're going to ask about facts. If you know they're an engineer or a teacher or a scientist, you know that they most likely would fall into this category of being very detailed-oriented. So what I might do is when I'm talking to Mr. Bolacan, I might talk to him like this, and I might not talk as fast, because if I start talking really fast like this, he's going to think, "Oh, here's a salesman calling me." So I would probably want to mirror and match his pattern, the way he talks. And this is a little bit of technique, and I'm getting off topic, but you want to match and mirror the way he thinks. Because when he hangs up the phone, he goes, "Wow, Greg is a great guy. I asked him about the facts and the statistics and all the numbers, and he had them for me." I have a guy up in Rhode Island. He's very much like this. And when he asks me a question, I make sure that I have the right answer for him. I'll email him and I'll say, "You know, Bill, don't have it right now, I'm on the road, but I will get back with you with all of the details, ding, 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 all the facts, ding, 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 and everything that you need. And I don't want to be wrong, and I don't want to make him wrong." So that's a green personality. A red personality is a person that wants to dominate. They want to be first. The bottom line is really important for them. The bottom line. These are people that are going to talk really fast. And you're not going to want to be touchy-feely with them. You're not going to be wanting to ask them about their family and their friends and what they did on vacation. Because if you do, you're really going to get them upset. Because for these people, it is the bottom line result. They're money-driven. They're driven individuals. They like to be first. They like to have people praise them. You know, they like to be in front of the, you know, whatever the situation is. These are the donors that if they're going to give money, they might not be anonymous. They might want to have the feather in the cap because they're powerful people. And some of our donors are very powerful people. I have some donors, they want nothing to do with recognition. These people, they may want to be recognized. They might want to have a building named after them. These are people who are bottom line driven, money motivated people who don't like a lot of chit chat. Now we're not talking about extroverts and introverts. We're talking about personality types. Now as I say this, it's important that you figure out where you are and at the same time figure out where your prospect is, and also realize that these aren't fixed in stone. You know, you can switch quadrants here. The next one is yellow, and this is in contrast to the red, complete contrast from the red. The yellow is a person that is very much interested in the cause. They love causes, they want to feed the dolphins, they want to save the dolphins, they want to be in relationship with you, they want to talk about their family. If you talk to them about their family, they'll pull out some pictures and they'll show you their family. If you talk to a red, they won't even have any pictures of their family. It's true. You know, it's just the way it is. And if you meet somebody or you're on the phone with somebody and you ask them about their family and they're over here, just like, get to the point. What do you want? I'll write the check. I got to go. Boom. But if you're over here talking to a yellow, just realize that they want to have a relationship with you. They want to get to know you. And the best way to get to know them and you get to know them and them to get to know you is just simply ask questions and listen and be present and ask them about their family. Now, this is not manipulation. It's just simply being in their world. You know, I'm from New York, Connecticut. If I go to Texas and I hang out in Texas probably for a year or two, I'll probably start talking a little different. Just because, you pick it up. And it's not manipulation, it's just the environment. So when you're talking to somebody over here that's a yellow, you certainly want to slow down. You certainly want to talk to them about their family. And you certainly want to know what is important to them. And then the blue. The blue is a social butterfly. They like to be on the center of stage. They like to be praised. They like to talk a lot. Oh boy, do these people. My wife is a blue. She loves to talk a lot. And I can have a conversation with her in the kitchen. I can go upstairs to my study, come back 5 minutes, she's still talking, and she doesn't notice that I left. It's true. The blues love to talk. So if you're on the phone with somebody that's blue, they're very social. They love people. You know, they love to go to parties. How many of you can associate yourself either with an analytical green, a bottom line red, a relationship yellow, or a blue social butterfly? Just raise your hand if you can kind of associate. Okay, great. So when you're on the phone with folks, realize that you want to make a connection with them. And now, there's no way you can read a person's mind. You can't say ace of diamonds, four of clubs. There's no way that you can ask those kinds of questions. But as you get them to talk to you, and you ask them what's important to them, eventually it will come out where they are, and you can get into their world and make the connection. So just to recap, if you realize that picking up the phone and the fear and the pain and the emotion that is associated with it is a lie. It's really not true. I have seen people go from Saul to Paul, one sitting in the back. I'm one of them. I used to be afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. It's like asking Matt, did you pick the two of diamonds? Okay, I'm sorry to bother you. And then you just get on to the next call. It's a process. And as you learn to connect with people, I guarantee you will have more fun in your relationships. Okay. I got 10 minutes. Can I take 10 minutes? Okay, let's do this. All of you that associate with the greens, I like you up front. Those who associate with the reds, up front over here. And in the back of the room, we'll have the blues, and the back of the room, we'll have the yellows. So if you can grab your stuff and just move. Greens up front over here. If you associate yourself with greens, up here. Reds over here. And in the back, we got the blues, and then we got the yellows. If you're a combination, just pick the most dominant one. No, I'll stand with you.
Okay.
Here you go.
This is like a different variant of the red. This is like this example for me is staff meetings, because I'm a pastor, and like the culture of churches and all that, they always want to do a check-in. Tell about your weekend.
Does it drive you crazy?
It drives me nuts. But I do it because I recognize that those people really need that. But the whole time I'm sitting there like, inside.
Are you guys reds too? We're reds. Okay, good. You're in the right company. So reds are over here. What do we have over here?
Greens.
Greens, okay. If you guys could, okay, good. And what do we have back here? Yellows. What do we have over here? Blues. Are you guys looking for a place?
Yeah.
Well, who will take you in?
Somewhere in the middle. I feel. I'm like, where's the door?
Yeah, no, that's good. You can stand in the middle. Okay. At each group, I'd like you to pick a captain. So we got to get a captain here, a captain. Now, over here, they're going to fight over the position of captain. Captain back here and a captain over here. And for the next 3 minutes, I'd like you to discuss in your group What is important for you? In one sentence, and I'm going to ask you to read it. So this group over here, just talk about it for 3 minutes. What is important to you? Over here, what is important for you? This group over here, just kind of talk together, and what's important for you. One sentence, and we'll take a few minutes.
Can you give me most important in what, in our life, in our careers, in our, what's it?
It's just a general question. What's the most important thing to you? Bottom line, results, money. You
So
know.
relative to our jobs. Not
Yeah.
that I want my kids living next door to me in heaven. I mean,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, the most important, yeah,
Or in the Lord.
right. Is the most important thing to you listening to people tell you about all their woes and complaints and their stories and their, oh, would you like to see my family? Probably not.
Okay. Yeah, maximize your time. Waste your time.
Hey, Greg. We're actually purple.
Oh, okay, that's fine, that's fine. You're a nonconformist. That's fine, that's fine. That's right. All right, let me just pull you together for a few minutes for a close here. Do you notice in development, we don't have that many reds. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe. So the majority of the group seems to be what, back here or over here? The socials over here? Probably the socials, and then what do we have over here?
Yellow.
Yellows, and we have the greens up here, the analytical, okay? So the greens, how do you feel associating with the people back there sometimes? They talk too much, yeah. Right, right. So let me ask the question over here in the green session. Who's the captain?
Me.
Okay, and what's the most important thing in this group?
Well, kind of knowing where we're headed and what we're going to do, and we want it done right.
Right, you want it done right.
And we want to be prepared so that we don't let anything slip through the cracks.
Yes.
So it is done right.
Yeah, it's very important. So when I'm talking to you on the phone, it's very important that I'm concise, that if I show up with no information and she asks me about some project and oh my gosh, I left it in the car, and I bring it back and it's all wrinkled up, she's just going to write me right off. You see that? You see, right? So when you're talking to somebody like that, okay? So let's go over to the reds. Who's the captain? Okay. And what's important to you and your group?
Efficiency.
Efficiency.
Results, time.
Results and time. Yeah, so if you start, what's your first name?
Molly.
I start talking to Molly about my wife and the kids. Oh, tell me about your family. And I start touching her. She's just going to be like, get away from me. Who is this creep? I got things to do, money to make, right? That's how she would be. So it's important that when you're looking to connect with folks that you don't take your personality into their world. That, I'm a Dale Carnegie graduate. What I learned is what's more important is what they want rather than what I want. And I think that's the key to life and success. Okay, we have back here what...
Fuzzy, we like to talk.
This is the blues.
We like to relate.
We like
to develop meaningful relationships that will create authentic relationships.
Tom's our spokesperson.
Yeah.
Can we talk some more?
Yeah. Later at coffee in 5 minutes. And then the last group is what, over here? And what's this?
Well, we relationships and finding things in common. And
Yeah.
we want to see one another's pictures.
Yeah, that's good. All right, why don't you have a seat anywhere just to sit down. We're just going to close here. So just sit down anywhere, take a seat. And let me just say this in the last 4 minutes that we have, is if you can make this a habit, and that's the last quadrant. H stands for habit. If you make this a habit, you will change your mind. Now, what do I mean by that? Remember we started with beliefs, remember? Who you be is based on your experience and your beliefs. That's who you be. That's your ontological reality. That's your sense of certainty. If you're not getting the results you desire, you have to step out into uncertainty. You have to. But if you make it a game and you get into action and you go through the 4 levels and you make it a habit. Make it a habit. What's going to happen if you go from here all the way through action and through habit, and you make it a habit of connecting with people and reaching out to people and figuring out the reds are here, the blues are here, the greens. What is this habit going to do to your beliefs? Exactly. It will change your beliefs. Now this is what you'll have. Look over here. Everybody look up. You will have, like as Beth did, you will have an aha experience. You will. You realize that your beliefs were so small and you were so constrained. But if you break through, you will have an aha experience and you will have a different belief. You know what? I think I can do this. Fran told me no about coming to the event, or she can't come to Israel with me, or she doesn't want to participate in the donor pledge this year. But you know what? Go to the next one. Go to the next one. Not taking it personally. Not focusing on my past experience, but realizing that I deserve to have a breakthrough. And what the key is to go from this, really to go from a Saul experience to a Paul experience. It's really about change. It's not really about technique. It's simply about going from here, take a look, to here. And in the process of changing, that's where you'll have the success. That's where you'll have the success, in the change. So I want to thank you. Does there anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Do you believe in pre-appointment letters, or do you think that they are an excuse not to?
I think they're an excuse to not pick up the phone. In some cases, it could be warming the relationship. Like, in other words, when you do pick up the phone, you could correspond to the letter I sent. You know, I could use that as a connection. So, what do you think, Matt?
I've had success with pre-appointment letters, but I found myself now not having made calls in 2012 that I wish I would have made the first week of January.
Right. If it holds you back, if it's easier for you to write a letter and to send it versus picking up the phone, I would say pick up the phone. I mean, what do you really have to lose? You really don't have anything to lose. Was it the Ace of Diamonds? No, it wasn't. I mean, if you have so many people to prospect and talk to. Any other questions? I value your comments, your questions, and the evaluations. I hope that you could fill them out as we're doing questions real now. Yes?
In the sense of making it a game, 2 things I found out that worked for me.
Okay.
I mean, I still have things to cross, and I'm not solved Paul yet, but
Yep.
I realized that my phone was in the darkest corner of my office.
Wow.
I went and bought a light.
Wow.
And I started making calls on speakerphone. I just go shut my office door.
Yep.
And I don't even hold the phone. If that's,
Yeah.
you know, if you have to get past it, I just push the buttons and we chat.
Excellent. That's great. Yes, ma'am.
Another hint is to stand up.
Stand up.
And because our voice is
Yep.
uplifted.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all talking about technique. Yep. But most of all, change your mind. Really, nobody's going to hate you. No one's going to reject you. These are all things that are going on in your head. Any last questions before we close and fill out the surveys? Going once? Well, Beth, what do you think?
I'm going to repress my blue and not talk about how awesome this was and you've, done it again.